Welcome to the Drilling Millions podcast, presented by Sage Dental Partners.
I want you to walk me through, Woody, what these steps from A to Z look like. Maybe first with, the traditional contractor / engineer, and then how you guys do it at Build Technology.
Okay, so I think from standard way of just doing stuff in the old style, I'd like to call it, but it's not the old style. I would say it's just the way it's done. The dentist goes through a process of looking for a building, and realistically, all of that takes time. When you talk about like build a dental office, there are tons of steps before getting to build a dental office. The actual building process, yes, like we have a way to streamline it. But there is, okay, I want to get into a building. Okay, you have to look for available leases. You have to, if you want to buy something, you have to look for what's available. So if you're not incorporating that, let's say you have all of that, and starting from there, how we're different is that basically in one day, you're going to get something back and be like, okay, this is what we're going to work on. It's one day. It's not going to a designer. It's not going to an architect. We have to do all of those things for sure before we move forward with the project. But all the designs that we're going to give, a designer and an architect are going to look at it. They're going to stamp it. We're not going to put anything that's not legal in a drawing to a dentist, right? And if there's anything, it will be something minor, but it sort of gets you moving a lot quicker when you're working in that 3D way. And if you're working in the 2D way, you kind of have to look through plans a lot. You don't know what you're looking at, kind of like, it's like, I don't like, this looks good. Like, let's continue planning. I'm going to go look at cabinets maybe next. And it's like, all right, like that's a couple-week process. Like, let's just bang it out. Like, let's just get like, if you want to like choose an office, like you can always make changes, but if you have an idea or you know what the space is going to look like, and you want to move forward, like it's all about moving forward.
Yeah, it's starting with the end in mind, right? It's so much more exciting. If someone told you, you have to run this race indefinitely, it's like, oh, that sucks. But if someone's like, oh yeah, like the finish line's like just right here, you just have to put the pieces together. It's much more exciting for the dentist too, I can imagine.
I don't want to just bring this up to, honestly, growing up, my dad is, as you know, Dr. Stephen Bongard. He does implants in one day. Basically, he does immediacy, which is, I'm sure that you guys all know about that. It's an implant procedure that you can put a tooth on in a single day. And it's like the patient just wants to get to the finish line. Like they just want the product. And it's the same in construction. Like, it's immediacy. Like everything now is about like getting it tomorrow. Amazon, like getting it tomorrow. Uber, getting a ride right now. Like the world changed. And it's sort of like, that's where everything's sort of shifting. And that's why I think like it's very important to push this.
For sure. So once you kind of go through the process of, because again, a lot of listeners to the pod, may not even have practiced in a private practice clinic yet, because a lot of them are students, but from the perspective of what they need to expect when they graduate. So you first find your spot, right? Like you find the ground level place with high foot traffic, yada, yada, yada. Then you in a traditional sense, you probably start the permit simultaneously as you get the drawings made up? Like what is that process like?
Well, the permit process is basically after you design the office, because you have to say, okay, I want 3 operatories with the space. I want 4 operatories. You have to design you have to design the space. You have to know what you want basically. And then after that, once you have a complete set of drawings, you can submit them to permit.
Okay.
And that can take a few weeks now. Depending on whatever year you're in, post-COVID, it can take a few weeks.
So because I know that's a timely process. So once the permits come back, then what? The construction, just begins? Like they break ground, start plumbing?
Yeah. So once the permits are back and you're given approval to start construction, you're able to begin. And then you're able to go through this process with the permits, which is, okay, we did this work. It's going to be inspected. It's going to be inspected and passed, and then you can continue moving forward until the job is finished.
So you have contractors in-house, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the
contractors, we have just people who work in trades in-house. So we have carpenters in-house. We have an electrician in-house. Yes.
Okay. So they're like, kind of it's a big integrated team where, you can just tap on each other's shoulders and say, hey, Is this cool? Is that cool? Is this modification good? So it's not like you said, the communication piece is so crucial. It's not one of those things where, yeah, we're going to send them an email at like 3 p.m. on a Friday. They're probably going to get back to us on a Tuesday. Meanwhile, it's been like a week in between, right? So
yeah. So what you just said, and this is why I really like the technology with 3D. That's across the board with showing it to the customer, like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. We can make it work, like showing them what it's going to look like in 3D. And the customer's like, okay, like that's what it's going to look like at the end. They're cool with that. That communication is 1 second, right? And then you can take it to a subcontractor, the plumber, and saying, in order to make this happen, we need this material, that material, and the plumber now has an understanding. So it's just an integrated way of communicating, which is just much more efficient.
yeah, because if you think about it, it's like, okay, all of these people act as independent contractors. They come in, you have to explain the whole vision to them, the whole, like from scratch, right? It's not like they come with any, predetermined knowledge. Maybe they could watch the video you sent them or whatever it may be, but like they kind of are starting from scratch, from bare bones.
You're talking about the customer,
The contractors, like the independent contractors, like the plumbers and the electrician and the,
like showing them 3D stuff, you mean?
yeah. So like in
You're
a normal
absolutely
case,
right.
yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I've actually gone through this issue. This is great for customers. It's great for people who are used to, like, not used to, no one's used to doing stuff in 3D really, but it's great. Obviously, visually, we're used to seeing things in 3D. But once you give it to a worker, they're like, what is this? Like, I don't know. A plumber's like, what did you just give me? So, but what's very great about 3D to convert to 2D is no problem. It's very easy. There's no depth in a 2D drawing. You get rid of the heights, everything becomes flat. That's a 2D drawing. And obviously we make it a proper 2D drawing, but we have a way to very, very quickly go from 3D to 2D extremely quickly now. So a plumber who's looking at it is like, this is what I'm used to seeing every day. Yeah, great question. That is a great question because we've had that come up recently.
So what's the most cumbersome part when you look at the whole journey of, from blank slate to fully operational practice? Is it the permit? Is it the design? Is it coordination? Like, what is the most cumbersome part that most dentists just want to pull their hair out?
Probably choosing equipment. Probably choosing an equipment manufacturer. Like I obviously have experience with it, but I don't have a ton of experience with it because a dentist would do that. But I just assume because it's hard to know what you want. It's really difficult to know what chair you want, what CT scanner you want, what pan you want. It's difficult to know. So those conversations, they take a long time. Maybe they don't need to, but they do. Like you're relying on your sales rep to sort of tell you about these things, and you then have to think it over. It's hard to just go.
Yeah. Man, talking to you for some reason, I forget that you're also not a dentist because like your dad's a dentist, your brother's a dentist, your other brother's a dentist. Like, how did you go down this path? Like, well, there obviously must have been pressure for you to be a dentist too, but
for sure. So I went to university and I was actually in a Bachelor of Science. I was going to be a dentist. I always thought growing up I was going to be a dentist. And then from third year university, I kind of thought like, maybe I didn't really know what I wanted to do. To be really honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. In fourth year, like I had good marks. I thought like maybe I'll go to medical school in the States. I didn't have good enough marks to get into Canada, into medical school in Canada, but I thought maybe I'll go into the States or something. And then in fourth year, I applied to law school and I got into Queen's Law School. And this is when I was helping build my dad's practice. I was just like I was 22, I don't know, 22, 23. So I was just like helping to build my dad's practice. I got into law school. I was going to go. And we had a contractor who was building this 27,000 square foot building. But the budget, like we were never going to get this project done ever. Like we were never going to be able to afford it. No bank was going to give us a loan for it. Like we had to do it ourselves. We like literally had to do it ourselves. So I thought, all right, I'll go back to school. Like I'll go to law school in 1 year. I worked that year. It took a long time to build that 27,000 square foot building, learned so many different things. And I actually really loved the industry, even though like it was a frustrating, difficult industry. I really, really liked it. I saw potential in it. And it was around that time, like I started seeing 3D. I saw 3D like the first time I just like happened to meet someone who taught at Ryerson about SketchUp and 3D, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I was like looking at it, it's like, it's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, I look at 2D plans, like I'm like I think I'm a relatively smart person. I can't visualize anything, and like this makes it so I can see everything properly. Like I understand construction if I can see it like this. Thought it was the coolest thing ever. So, anyways, um, I was like, I want to continue in construction. I want to continue down this path. Like I just liked it. I just really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed computers a lot. I did a lot of computer work for dental offices. I was doing IT work. I had a business which did IT work for dental offices and did computer setup. So I just really loved the industry. But construction and architecture, especially 3D architecture, it like the first time I saw it, it hasn't left my mind since.
Wow. What so
Like
before
it's yeah.
so before starting Drilling Millions at another podcast called Majestic Mud, which I think I also sent to you, but that was literally like that was the perfect pitch for that first podcast. Because A to B to C, like it's crazy how sometimes these things work out, right? Just like by chance.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, and when you say pressure to like become a dentist, for sure. Like, even now, I still think like, oh, I'm gonna like, I want to really do a lot of stuff in construction, but I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go to dental school. Like, I really don't want to, but like, even in the back of my mind, I sometimes think of that. So yeah, definitely there was pressure.
Yeah, if all things go to shit, then dental school it is.
Yeah,
Dental school's a good
I'd really,
backup
really
plan.
rather not. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, you don't want to do that. But it's cool how you saw that opportunity there, because I think a lot of people would, they would sort of be more on the end of, this is a really painful profession to be, this construction, like painful profession to be in, very frustrating, very antiquated, but it's cool that you saw that as an opportunity, you saw it as a feature,
oh
not a
my
bug.
God, for sure. I thought it was like so painful. I'm like, why is it so painful? And like, you're trying to listen to these like conversations between contractors. And I listen to so many conversations, like trying to understand, like, what are we getting wrong? Like the measurement, like just the measurement, like someone didn't measure properly. Like it always comes down to that. Like, and if you have a proper 3D drawing that's locked in with the proper measurements, you're not going to get that stuff wrong. So that's when I saw 3D architecture. I'm like, this like industry is done nothing and it's ready to boom because there's so much opportunity in it.